So if you're looking to revisit some of the great moments that we all shared, head on over to Verve where you can rewatch all the old episodes of Super, not just subbed, but also if you're going to rewatch them, try watching them dubbed in English with some of your favorite classic English voices that many of you grew up with. And it's not just Dragon Ball Super. Verve has tons of other anime in season right now. My Hero Academia, Food Wars, Steins Gate, Persona 5 the anime, Full Metal Panic. There's so much new stuff on there. Plus, Stargate. The entire catalog of the live-action Stargate show is on there. You don't pay a penny for 30 days. The link is down below, so check it out. So when Dragon Ball Super came to an end, all the universes were wished back, including Universe 6. And I want to have a discussion here on After Dragon Ball Super, the podcast series where we discuss, what's going to happen after Super based on unresolved plot threads in Super. What is the future of Universe 6? Now, the thing about Universe 6 is it was wished back, but it was one of the universes that got a huge amount of focus in Tournament of Power, and it's also one that I think will have a huge focus going forward because it's the first other universe that we were introduced to in Super way back in the Champa arc. So, first of all, let me introduce my guest for this edition of After Dragon Ball Super. He has many names, but he's back to the most familiar one of all, Quaman.
Yup, without the lad. What's up, guys?
Quaman's universe, maybe?
Just Quaman.
I'm just a man making his way in the galaxy. So, let's talk about Universe 6, brother. Now, obviously, we're going to discuss a few different characters. First of all, the Saiyans. Now, is it safe to say, because here's the thing about Caulifla and Kale and Kaba, is that they have, I think, the biggest unresolved story in Super as far as what they teased us with, and that is, of course, the Planet Sadala arc or movie, which we may get in the Dragon Ball Super movie in December. Obviously, Vegeta and Kaba still have a relationship, and obviously, Kale and Caulifla still want to achieve Super Saiyan 3. Beyond that, all right, is there anything else you think we should discuss as far as what may happen to the Saiyans in the future?
Right. Well, I mean, in terms of those three characters, I always said, before even Super ended or had its hiatus, I guess you could say, I always felt that those three characters could be a central plot point moving forward because Goku and Vegeta have a lot that they can give to other characters in terms of teaching them, the different stages of Super Saiyan, how to attain Super Saiyan Blue and so much and so forth. And I feel like kind of a Saiyan bonding and bridging the gap between Universe 7 and Universe 6 would be great because we never really got a chance to see the characters interacting on a normal level. They were always interacting in terms of having a tournament, but actually seeing them, participating in that matter would be great. And I think the only moment that really instituted what Universe 6 versus Universe 7 could be like is that baseball episode, and that was a lot of fun regardless of how much you love sports and whatnot. So I think that seeing Kale and Kaba and Caulifla coming back to kind of being like the proteges of Goku and Vegeta could really expand the show.
I agree with that. Maybe we'll do a topic on that in the future. Now, let's talk about, Frost. I think with him it's obvious, or maybe somewhat obvious, the dude might still be angry. And yes, Frost was indeed wished back. It's in the episode. You can see him there. The dude's probably angry at Frieza because of Frieza's betrayal. I mean, could Frost come to Universe 7 and stir up trouble for Frieza? Can he even get there without the cube? What could they do with the Frost character?
The thing with Frost is that, it was really funny when I saw him being revived because, it's kind of although you're bringing back all of these universal fighters, at the same time you're also kind of keeping some of the garbage that made the universe a worse place to be in. And Frost is one of those characters, and because Frieza obviously, was one of the key characters that allowed Universe 7 to win the Tournament of Power, there could be this very interesting divide that we could see geekdom, where we kind of see Frost and Frieza kind of competing, even though they're in two separate universes, because Frieza wants to rebuild his empire and do it even better than Frost, now that he knows that Frost is back. And at the same time, I think that Frost will have animosity towards Frieza, because Frieza eliminated him in the Tournament of Power. So I still feel like the rivalry between those two could be something that could expand on.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that in the movie, but I think maybe if Super comes back next year, we'll see that. Right. Now, also, let's talk about the Assassin Hit. This one's the hardest one for me because I feel like with Hit, and we're going to talk about the Namekians here in a minute. That's going to be the last topic. But I feel like with Hit, I feel like what can you really do with him? I feel like when he fought Jiren, and you and I discussed this briefly in our arc review, the 4-person, 2-hour review thing. I don't know, man. He was a cool character with cool powers. I feel like once Jiren beat him, though, it kind of took away from his coolness a little bit. Not too much.
Right.
I mean, what can you really do with him in Super except for give him his own spin-off? I feel like he could be the main character of his own story, but him being a part of Goku's story, what more could he really add if Goku's got so many higher, I guess you can say, bigger, higher, more goals to reach now. He wants to surpass Jiren and those guys at that level, not so much, Hit.
I mean, yeah, well, the thing with Hit is I think there is a lot you could do with him, but it would require a major narrative change as opposed to Kaba and Caulifla and Kale, who were already kind of an ingrained part of the story that you could easily adapt them into the story. The thing with Hit is, as you said, he's an assassin, so he kind of works as like a standalone character that could, have like a cool special or something like that. What I could see Hit honestly doing more than anything else is he could kind of have his own special where he's like sent out to like assassinate this extremely powerful guy and who's like, causing trouble within Universe 6, and he is not strong enough to take this guy out, so then he gets Goku and Vegeta to try and team up and like take this guy down, kind of similar to how we saw Universe 7 ganging up on Ani Raza throughout the Tournament of Power. And I do feel like Hit would have to have his own story instead of you having to put Hit into the story that's already moving.
Right? No, I agree. That's kind of my point, is that putting him in,
Right.
that's pretty much what I said. Putting him into like Goku's story right now seems very unnatural, but it's almost like if they are going to bring back Super and this is going to be a business thing, I feel like they kind of have to because of how popular he is. They got to figure something out. Maybe they have to have a storyline where he's in some kind of dilemma, like you said. He has to come get help in Universe 7. I don't know.
I mean, if anything, Geekdom, you could always do like a cool filler episode, much better than what we saw like in the Tournament of Power with like Goku and 17 going in outer space to fight like that poacher. Like, you could do something similar with that with Hit, and that could make great slice of life or additional storyline episodes for the show.
But I mean, is it going to be worth doing if they don't do any real arc with him? Like, I understand what your mentality is, but is it worth just cutting away to Hit just for a slice of life episode and then never following up on it?
I just think that his character is so isolated that it's hard to write with him. And the thing that I will add to this is that when you compare this to Jiren, right? Like, Jiren's actually a part of the Pride Troopers, so there's more ammo you could use in shooting a story with Jiren. But with Hit, since he's kind of by himself, unless you create like this whole, assassin academy, there's really not much you could do. Yeah, and then
that would be a separate series. Now let's talk about the Namekians, Serena and Powerenu. I think that's their names. Palnell and Saunor. What?
Yeah, man. There's like so many pronunciations.
Yeah, no, there's like a bunch of different translations for their names, but we'll see what the dub actually calls them.
Right.
Purina, the ones I'm going to go with just to be safe is Purina and Sauneru. Anyways, so let's talk about these guys. So we found out in their episode that they absorbed, they didn't say every other Namekian. That's not what they said, but they absorbed other Namekians on planet Namek. And if they did say every other one, I missed it. Are they just going to go back to an empty planet? Like, what is... I mean, do we even care about the Universe 6 Namekians? Are they going to follow up with the Namekian Book of Legends, which is a Universe 7 book? But I mean, still, like, where do we go with these guys?
The thing with them is like kind of similar with like the gas Carcoal thing from like Dragon Ball Multiverse, like
a weird storyline.
And it's so funny how people always thought that was a stupid storyline, but then Dragon Ball Super kind of adapted it. I'm not saying Super copied Multiverse.
A lot of people think it did, though.
Yeah, it's fun, hilarious. There's actually several things, but I'm not going to go in depth about this in the video. But, the thing with Saunel and Purina, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing them wrong, is that I feel like because they're kind of like the last two Namekians, unless like they use the Dragon Balls to like bring back all the Namekians because they saved Universe 6.
Well, wait a minute. They can't, because if there's no Namekians left, how can they use the Dragon Balls? They have to have the Namekian Grand Elder be alive. So maybe he's left. I mean, it's said in the series several Namekians, not all of them, but you know, still.
I'm saying in the sense as if they somehow created a new set of Dragon Balls, or if they went to Universe 7 to wish them back, or, through whatever means they found a way to revive the Namekians. I just don't really think they would make an interesting storyline, and it's ironic I'm saying this because Piccolo's my favorite character, but I just don't think the Universe 6 Namekians are just that intriguing as characters, and the reason why I'm saying that is because of the fact that since they're only by themselves, and since they're just not as strong as the other characters and don't really have a relationship with the other characters, other than Piccolo, I don't really see them having something in it. But what I could see, Geekdom, is what if the Universe 6 Namekians, took a trip over to Universe 7 and met Piccolo, learned about the Earth culture, and then somehow they kind of migrated towards the Universe 7 Namekians, because it's like, hey, we want to be around our people, we want to protect the Namekians of Universe 7 so that, danger won't ever come there, and that way you can kind of like expand on that whole Namekian warrior tribe, but in another universe. I could see them migrating.
Oh, maybe Frost wants the Namekian balls. No, for real. Maybe they do a repeat of the Namek arc where Frost wants the Namekian balls to wish himself into Universe 7 so that he attacks Planet Namek in Universe 6. I mean, we could see that. Because I'll be honest with you, you mentioned you having Piccolo as your favorite character. Piccolo is interesting. Not because he's a Namekian, because he was interesting before we even found out he was a Namekian. He's interesting because he has an actual arc, and his arc involves the son of his rival. That's what's kept him interesting, because he's a cool fighter. But when you really look at the Namekians as a race, they're kind of boring. I mean, yes, they are a MacGuffin. I don't know if I'm using that term properly, but they are the race that created the Dragon Balls, and they have some cool abilities like Dende can heal and things like that. But overall, they're kind of a boring race. They're not like the Saiyans, who are actually kind of interesting. So I think you would have to bring in an outside element to make any creative storylines. They're in peace at all times on Planet Namek. They don't fight. There's no civil wars going on. Unlike, the Saiyans, the Furians. We see this in other races, not with the Namekians. And I feel like, to make them even remotely interesting, I agree with you. You're going to have to bring them to Universe 7 or have Frost do something. They're going to have to leave their comfort zone, because Planet Namek, even if it's from Universe 6 or 7, is boring. I mean, even when you watch the Namek arc over again, right, or if you read the manga, you notice that even the terrain and the way it looks is very, lazy. And we've had some people like Gabby and others talk about how Toriyama went to Namek just because it was kind of easier for him to write like the backgrounds, to draw them, because it's like one or two tall trees and that's it. The planet's boring, dude, and it's like you're gonna have to really bring in some kind of outside element to make them interesting.
Right, and I will say this: like, if the Universe 6 Namekians were similar to like King Piccolo or like Lord Slug, where like there was like an evil Namekian that was causing havoc, I think that would have made the storyline more interesting. But it's because it's just two guys, like they kind of set themselves up for a failed plot line with that race. And honestly, the most you probably could have done with them is to have Piccolo have a more dominant role with them in the Tournament of Power, and of course they didn't do that. So.
Yeah, or they could have just found something out. Maybe they were evil. That was that whole thing that the Namekians of Universe 6 are actually evil. But it did say that a lot of Namekians, not all of them. So presumably speaking, there are still Namekians on Planet Namek from Universe 6. So we've covered everything. I don't know if we really need to get into Dr. Rota or Magetta or Botamo. They're not that important, I don't think, as far as the future of Dragon Ball Super goes, even though I'd like to see Magetta's Metal Man planet, but other than that, I don't really care about these characters too much. Let us know in the comments what you think. What is the future of Universe 6? And remember to check out Quaman. You should know who he is by now, but if you don't, check him out. He's got some good content.
All right. Appreciate it, bro.
We'll talk to y'all soon.